Eala vows to do better. Bawi to sa Susunod. Manila, Philippines. Philippine tennis star Alex Eala vowed that she will be better, following an early exit at the Qatar Open. Eala lost to rival Teresa Valentova of the Czech Republic, 7-6, 6, 6-1 in the round of 64 on Monday. Salamat, mga kababayan. Talo ngayon pero tuloy pa rin ang laban. Bawi to sa Susunod. Thank you, everyone. We may have lost today, but the fight continues. Let's bounce back in the next one. Eala said in an Instagram story. Prior to her Qatar Open match, Eala achieved new career highs in the WTA singles and doubles standings, placing 40th in the world in the singles and 99th in the doubles. Eala is set to return to the United Arab Emirates, as she is listed as a qualifier in the Dubai Tennis Championships, which starts on Sunday. She will later head to the Indian Wells Open in the United States next month, as she was already included in the players' list. Eala vows to do better. Bawi to sa Susunod. Eala stood still long after the noise had faded. The lights were already dimming, chairs scraping against the floor as people moved on with their lives, but she remained where she was, hands clenched, heart louder than the empty space around her. The moment she had worked for slipped through her fingers, not with drama or disaster, but with quiet finality. No second chances. Not today. Failure, she learned, doesn't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it comes softly, like a whisper you wish you could unhear. She exhaled slowly and looked down at her hands. These were the same hands that had practiced relentlessly, that had trembled with hope just hours ago. Now they felt heavier, as if carrying the weight of all the what-ifs she didn't want to face yet. Okay Lang, someone had told her earlier. May next time pa. Next time. Such a simple phrase. Such a dangerous comfort. On the jeepney ride home, the city blurred past her window, vendors packing up, students laughing too loudly, lovers sharing earbuds. Life didn't pause for disappointment. It never did. And maybe that was the hardest part. The world kept going even when she wanted to rewind. She replayed everything in her mind. The moments she hesitated. The chances she didn't take. The confidence she let slip. Regret has a cruel way of disguising itself as clarity. You should have done this. You could have done that. By the time she reached home, her chest ached with exhaustion. She dropped her bag, sat on the edge of her bed, and finally allowed herself to feel it all. The sting. The embarrassment. The quiet fear that maybe she wasn't as good as she believed. But beneath all that, something else stirred. Defiance. Eala wasn't new to falling short. She'd stumbled before, failed exams, missed opportunities, dreams delayed by circumstances she couldn't control. And yet, here she was. Still trying. Still showing up. Still hoping even when hope felt reckless. She wiped her face and laughed softly, shaking her head at herself. Ang drama mo, she muttered. Then she stood up, opened her notebook, and wrote at the top of a blank page. Bawi to sa Susunod. Not as an excuse. Not as denial. As a promise. Because Bawi wasn't about erasing mistakes. It wasn't pretending today didn't hurt. It was about taking everything, every misstep, every bruise to the ego, and turning it into fuel. The next days weren't easy. Motivation didn't magically appear. Some mornings, doubt greeted her before the sun did. But she learned to work through it anyway. Progress, she realized, was rarely loud. It was quiet discipline. Showing up even when confidence was absent. Trusting the process even when results lagged behind effort. She practiced again. Studied again. Failed again. Smaller failures this time, but failures nonetheless. And each time she reminded herself, this is part of it. Growth isn't a straight line. It loops, stalls, and sometimes feels like it's moving backward. But only if you stop does it truly end. Weeks later, when another opportunity came knocking, Eala felt the familiar nerves return. Her hands shook again, but this time, they didn't feel empty. They were steadier, stronger, shaped by all the days she chose not to quit. She smiled to herself. Win or lose, she knew one thing for sure now. She was no longer afraid of the outcome. Because she had already proven something more important. She could rise after disappointment. She could learn. She could endure. And if things didn't go her way again, She already had the words ready. Bawi tayo sa susunod. Not because she was running from failure, but because she was walking toward something better. Eala vows to do better. Bawi tayo sa susunod. Eala stared at the screen, heart pounding like a drum in a quiet room. The words, "game over," blinked mockingly back at her. It wasn't a literal game, though sometimes it felt like life treated her just the same, but a chance she had waited months for, rehearsed endlessly for, and had let slip through her fingers. Her friends cheered at the sidelines, their voices loud, brimming with excitement, but Eala couldn't hear them. She only felt the heavy thud of disappointment in her chest. "Hey, ang bugal talaga ng karma," she muttered under her breath, attempting a laugh, but it came out hollow. It wasn't that she hadn't tried. She had studied, practiced, sacrificed countless late nights, and even skipped weekends hanging out with friends. She believed she was ready. She wanted it more than anything. And yet, when the moment came, something inside her faltered. A hesitation. A wrong choice. A misstep. "Okay lang Eala," her best friend Mia said gently, nudging her shoulder. "May next time pa bawi tayo sa susunod." Eala wanted to nod, to cling to that comforting phrase. Next time. Bawi tayo sa susunod. But it sounded so easy when Mia said it, so much more certain than she felt. She got home late that evening. The streets were quiet, bathed in the orange glow of streetlights, the cool February air carrying the distant sounds of jeepneys and vendors closing up for the night. She dropped her bag with a heavy thud and slumped on her bed. Her room felt smaller somehow, crowded with shadows of all the mistakes she had made. Failure is a strange companion. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand attention. Sometimes it just sits beside you, patient and cold, and waits for you to notice it. Eala stared at the ceiling and let the tears come, slow and reluctant at first, then faster, until her pillow was damp. But after crying, she felt a spark, tiny, fragile, but unmistakable. Anger? Maybe. Or maybe determination. She didn't know yet. She picked up her notebook from the corner of her bed. Its pages were filled with sketches, notes, and dreams, reminders of everything she wanted to achieve. She opened a blank page and wrote slowly, "Bawi tayo sa susunod." Not as an excuse, not as denial, but as a promise. The next morning, Eala woke up to the sound of her alarm blaring like an unwelcome truth. The ache of yesterday's failure still lingered, heavy in her limbs. She forced herself out of bed, showered, ate breakfast, and stared at her reflection in the mirror. "You can do better," she whispered. It sounded cliché. She knew it. But sometimes, clichés existed for a reason. Sometimes, words repeated often enough could shape belief into action.